Yo, what's up, everyone? It's your boy Looney back with another market breakdown. And today's one of those days that is just red across the board. As of April 10th, today, we've had yet another brutal sell-off in both crypto, stocks, ETFs, everywhere, almost red. The big news is that China just escalated the trade war with the US, and there's a second wave of retaliatory tariffs hitting US tech, agriculture, manufacturing goods, everything. And markets have immediately tanked. If you guys aren't aware of the current events with these tariffs, is that they were going on in effect about a couple days ago or 2 days ago. And then Trump ended up putting a pause on every other tariff except for China. So because of that, the market reacted really good to that. And they still had a 10% tariff across the board in every other country. So that's why there was a little bit of an overreaction to things, but had one of the best days in the market yesterday, up 10% on my account. And yeah, it's too early to sell because although I was up 10%, I'm still down 20% on year to date. My account is not immune to this situation. But yeah, there was a little bit of an overreaction to that news, especially because there were still trades going into effect. It wasn't like he was canceling the tariffs, but he was more just delaying them, and he kept the 10% one. But now China's not backing down. Other countries are doing their own negotiations. So because of that, the market saw a lot of red today. The S&P was down over 2.4%. Let me just check that just to make sure I'm right on that. More than that, down 4% on the day. NASDAQ sliding again after a 5-day losing streak. And then the big companies, the Mag 7, were also getting hammered. And even safe ETFs, like you just saw, the S&P 500 are bleeding. And then on top of that, we actually had Powell's press conference, and they hinted at no emergency rate cuts yet, despite all the pressure. And that also made investors spooked a little bit more. And I am aware, or it is good to know that they actually had inflation that was less than expected. So that was the good news of things. But overall, the market is in a tough and sticky situation. I ended up actually buying a call today because the VIX, or just the overall census of the market, was in major fear. The VIX was at 54 when I bought that call. Let me just confirm it, because I remember I bought it at almost the peak of VIX, and that's really important when you are doing option trading. When did I buy it? At 118. So again, let me just look what it was. And if you guys don't know VIX, it is a volatility index, and it just goes over how volatile is the market. And when it's above 20 is really when things are really volatile and there's a lot of fear in the market. So yeah, I was able to buy it at here, 46. So 46 is really high. And if you just look, it can go up to 80 right there. I'm trying to get to it. All right, I guess I can't get to it, but we go over here. Yeah, 80. And then it goes back to its normal around that 15, 20. Anything above 20 is when things get a little volatile. So good time to make some plays. And you could sell options because premiums are a bit overpriced or overvalued, however you want to look at it. And I decided to buy a call. And I go over this in my Discord. So actually, it's a good time to shout that out because I have a free Discord. It's for anyone to join. And then I also have a premium version of that. And you get more perks like this one where you get trade call outs, one-on-one coaching. There's other team members. There's weekly calls and giveaways. You can check it out. All links will be in the description. But let's look at crypto. Today, it's down very slightly. It's actually peaking back up right now, which is pretty interesting. A lot of these altcoins are running up. But Bitcoin at that 80K mark, and Ethereum is barely holding on to that 1500. So it is a bit rough. Red candles everywhere. We have Dogecoin, Solana, XRP. They're all feeling the pain. And we're not in a risk on market right now. And this is a full fear mode. So what I'm actually doing is I'm not really chasing these green candles or trying to time bottoms. I'm dollar cost averaging. On Bitcoin, I'm doing $3 a day. So this dip's actually good for me. I bought it today at like 7. And if Bitcoin goes back up to the 100K, that's perfect with me. I might sell a little bit. I'm just accumulating. I'm trying to get 1 Bitcoin. I know it's a long road. I'm not going to be able to do it overnight. But other crypto, I'm also doing altcoins. My top 3 altcoins is Dogecoin. You wouldn't consider that a altcoin. It's more of a meme coin, but it is my second to Bitcoin. I have a lot of Dogecoin, and I was actually up a lot during the election. It was up to 40 cents. And then Ethereum, I actually am not the biggest fan of Ethereum, but I'm still buying it, and hopefully if it does shoot up, I can sell it off in the future. I want to get into Solana, but these other big players, I have Aave. This one I actually sold a lot of when it was at its peak. It was almost at 300, I believe, and it was a good time to sell. So I sold off a little bit there. Overall, crypto is not doing that great, but I'm just keeping it simple. $3, $1 into each crypto every day, just building that position over time. I know crypto doesn't pay dividends, and that's why I am also selling options. So I'm selling covered calls on crypto mining companies to have a sort of hedge or a little bit more exposure where I'm in control of things. So Riot is down a ton. It's almost 18% or it's almost 20% on my portfolio. And I would like to get more Riot. The issue is I don't want to get too exposed to one position. So I am holding off. I probably will get more into Riot eventually, but as of now, I've been doing SoFi as my big player, trying to get a big position onto SoFi because it's a long-term play, as is Riot. But like I said, I don't want to be overexposed to one position. This takes up 10%, and I'll actually probably get assigned a few puts, not this week, but the next week. I'll have 10.5 if SoFi stays below it, which it's hovering at that amount, which is really good actually, getting that at that time or that price. And then another $11 put for SoFi. And I think those are the only 2 puts, but I'm also selling calls on the other side so I could collect some income and then use that buying power to do maybe even selling more puts, buying long-term calls. That's what I actually used a lot today because this one costed $500, up $6, so up nothing. This other one, I'm kind of drowning. I timed it pretty poorly, but we'll see. There's a lot of time. SoFi has a lot of room to grow. I see it as a long-term play, but for my portfolio, like I said, I'm just dollar cost averaging, trying to build that portfolio slow and steady. I do know that there is room for more red, but it almost feels like we've had enough of the bad news. I don't know if the news can get any worse, even though there can be a recession, but who knows? And that's why I'm just accumulating. I'm trying not to overexpose myself. I'm not using margin, but it does hurt. My account was up in February and January to, well, it would have been 40,000, but at the time it wasn't because I didn't have as much capital in there, but now I've deposited a little bit more. And my goal is to reach 50K by the end of this year. I don't know. It's really dependent on how things go with the US and the trade wars and just the overall economy. But drop a comment. Are you guys stacking altcoins? Are you guys sitting in cash? Or are you buying the dip on stocks? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the Discord. Until next time.